Well, Michelle, it's the holiday season.
The holiday season.
Yeah, and this is our holiday video. We try to do one every year, but this year, it's a humdinger.
Yeah.
This year, we're pulling out all the stops.
All the stops.
Yeah, well, most of the stops. We're digging deep into our bag of tricks, and we're going to be doing some illustration, and we're going to be doing some sculpting with wool.
Needle felting.
Yeah, and we'll also be doing some diorama building. Let's just throw that on the pile, too.
Okay.
And all of that will be used to do some storytelling, because we've got our hands on the alternate ending to Emmet Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
Oh, boy.
So a lot of people have probably read the book by Russell and Lillian Hoban.
Right, or they've seen Jim Henson's television special.
Yeah, and it's about Emmet Otter and his ma, Alice, trying to make ends meet. Life on the river's hard.
Yeah.
They each decide to enter a local talent competition to win some money for Christmas. Doesn't go exactly as planned.
No.
But there is a point near the end of the story where Ma and Emmet and his friends are all singing together on the river, and they discover something that's better than any talent show prize or Christmas present.
And it's a really sweet, happy ending.
Yeah. Well, hold on to your butts.
My butts?
Yeah, because we've got our hands on some lost manuscript pages that lead me to believe there was an unpublished alternate ending to Emmet Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
What alternate ending?
It's the alternate ending, and this is definitely not a bit. These are the real deal. So, much like Henson brought the characters off the page with his puppets, we're going to put our own spin on this long-lost alternate ending using our skills of illustration, sculpting, and diorama building.
Gee, Mr. Big Time Conductor.
Okay, so you are needle felting some of the characters from Emmet Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
Yeah, I'm working on Ma's dress here, and I skipped showing the early parts of the sculpt, the armature, building up the core wool.
Right.
But if anyone wants to learn that stuff, we have a few videos in our needle felt playlist where I go over some of the basics.
Yeah, and this looks great so
thanks.
far. I know your part of this project was really time-consuming,
Yeah.
but while you were needle felting figures, I was behind my computer working on some illustrations. I created these images in Clip Studio Paint. I looked through the Hoban book, and it seemed like those were done in something like maybe a watercolor base with colored pencil or pastel on top. So I used a pencil brush for the outlines and some dry media brushes for the color, just brushes with nice texture to them. I wasn't trying to ape Lillian Hoban's style or Henson's.
Oh, right.
Though Henson's been inspiring me since I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I think both of their Emmet Otter projects influenced the way my illustrations turned out. So the final product here is kind of a combination of all three of us.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, the diorama build. That's something we worked on together.
Yeah.
It's mostly foam and cardboard. In the opening of the video, we were laying down cardboard strips to mimic siding. And here we are working on the door.
Yeah, and I am currently editing a video for some of our Patreon tiers where we go into more detail about building this diorama.
Yeah, and you haven't finished it yet because this project was way too big.
I don't think it was
too many moving parts.
Well, I think there's just as many parts as there needs to be. Illustration, needle felting, diorama. We're a one-stop shop, Michelle.
Yeah.
You're lucky I didn't throw in clay sculpting.
I know.
It's our holiday video. What do you not understand about humdinger?
So that's why we worked through Thanksgiving.
That's exactly why we worked through Thanksgiving. Think of it like the gift of the Magi, like in Emmet Otter. You gave up your Thanksgiving so I could get this video done.
And what did you give up? What did you give
I'm thinking. Let me think about it.
While you're thinking of that, tell me again about the lost manuscript pages.
Oh, well, they were in a box of stuff that I got at an estate sale, and this was years ago, so I didn't even know it was in there.
Not just something you typed up and then spilled coffee on. Did you type up a
thinking. Let me think. No, these are absolutely. How dare you? All right, let's just do this. We're ready to go.
Okay.
This is the part of the story where they are walking home over the iced-over river after the talent competition, right before they sing together. This is the long-lost, I promise you this is real, alternate ending to Emmet Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
Here we go.
Harvey Possum took his kazoo out of his pocket and began to play Sister Possum softly as they walked. Just then, old Doc Brown Bear trotted up behind the group. "Alice, Emmet," he said, "you were wonderful in tonight's talent show. I think you should have won, and I have something here that could make that happen." Ma and Emmet saw that Doc Brown Bear was holding what looked like a kitchen colander festooned with buttons, lights, and other electronic parts. "You want me to make noodles, Doc?" Ma asked with a confused smile. It's not a kitchen accessory, it's a time helmet, Doc said. With it, you can travel backwards and forwards in time. Ma wasn't sure she believed him. Doc was known around Frogtown Hollow as a harmless kook. But Emmet piped up, "How is your invention supposed to help us win next year's competition?" "Not next year, this year," Doc explained. "With this time helmet, you can travel back to any point in the past, back before those river bottom boys won the contest, and change things so that you can win." Ma's eyes lit up. She remembered how nice it sounded when she and Emmet harmonized together when delivering laundry on the river, and she knew Doc was right. They should have won, and she knew just how they'd do it. After having Doc explain how it worked, Ma put on the time helmet, set the controls, grabbed Emmet's hand, and pushed the start button. Suddenly, everything around Ma and Emmet, the river and woods, Harvey and the rest of Emmet's friends, Doc Brown Bear, everything started to shimmer and vibrate, and then it all became oddly transparent. A bright warm light appeared in front of the two of them, and they were lifted off their feet and drawn forward by an invisible force. "What's happening, Ma?" Emmet called out, nervous about this turn of events. "Well," Ma said, gripping Emmet's hand tightly, "I guess we're gonna find out." A sparkling cloud of energy swirled around the two of them, and they were borne forward as if on a gentle but insistent wind, traveling rapidly toward the light. When Emmet looked around, he could see Frogtown Hollow, but it looked like an old movie run in reverse, where the sun and moon raced each other around the horizon, the trees grew smaller, and houses disassembled themselves and disappeared. Then, just as quickly as it had begun, the strange sensation of movement subsided, and Ma and Emmet felt themselves being lowered gently back to the ground. Emmet looked around and realized he and Ma were no longer standing on the frozen river with their friends. Emmet saw that he and Ma were in downtown Waterville, just around the corner from the music store where he had first seen that guitar with the mother-of-pearl inlays. "Oh, Ma!" Emmet cheered. "Are you going to get me that?" "Hush up, Emmet!" Ma whispered. "I think it's about to happen." Emmet was confused, but then he heard the rumble of a car engine. Just then, a red jalopy came tearing around the corner recklessly, carrying the members of the River Bottom Nightmare Band. Emmet's mouth hung open. He realized he and Ma had gone back in time to the very day they first saw that swell guitar and the River Bottom gang. To make sure, Emmet craned his head around the corner of the building, and sure enough, about 2 blocks off in the distance, he could see the past versions of Ma and himself walking up the sidewalk, making their way to the music store. He was still staring in wonder when Ma pulled him back around the corner. "Stay hid now," she said. Then, after most of Chuck's gang of hooligans clambered into the music store, just before Chuck could reach the door, Ma grabbed him by the shoulders of his jacket and dragged him into the alley behind the building. "Get off of me," growled Chuck. But before he could utter another word, Ma tossed him to the ground and began kicking at his midsection. It knocked the wind out of Chuck and kept him off balance so that he wasn't able to regain his footing. "Ma," Emmet yelled, "is this how you use the time helmet? I thought maybe we'd go back to the talent show and team up." "Oh, Emmet," Ma said, while executing a suplex on Chuck. "Just like your father, doing things the hard way when the easy way is right there in front of you. If this river bottom goon can't make it to the talent contest, then he can't win. You want to team up? Then tag in."
Oh my gosh.
Chuck, disoriented, couldn't tell which way was up, let alone launch a counterattack.
Oh, no.
So he just rolled his tender parts away from the assault, hoping the rest of his gang would come to his aid. Emmet, understanding his mother's logic and ignited by her enthusiasm, began raining blows down upon Chuck. And when his soft little otter hands got sore, he picked up a nearby milk can and started pummeling Chuck with that. The River Bottom boys were making such a racket on the drums inside the music store, they never even heard Chuck's cries for help.
Why is Emmet holding a sword?
Oh, that's from the Blade diorama. I mean, it has some extra swords, so.
Look at Ma. She's like, "You want some of this?"
She's tough. She's one tough lady. She's a tough otter
This
mom.
is not an alternate ending.
It's absolutely the alternate
This is terrible.
ending. No, it's
this
real.
This is ridiculous.
It's what's on the paper. We worked from a manuscript.
That's not the actual manuscript.
Look at Doc Brown Bear. Emmet, you changed the timeline. No. You're erasing yourself from reality. No.
I reject this ending. This is ridiculous.
You're right. You're right.
I prefer the original ending.
Yeah, me too. I'm actually glad they went with the original. But for a holiday video, you cannot deny this was a humdinger. Right?
You managed to make me feel sorry for Chuck.
I know. I kind of feel bad for him too. But he'll recover. He'll get better.
He's the villain, and now I feel bad.
It's terrible. It's terrible. How could you do this, Michelle?
What?
I am shocked. Frankly, I'm shocked that you would do this. I hope everyone has a nice holiday, but I am shocked at the person you have become.
Happy
This is
holidays.
awful.